During the month of August, there were 6 suicide watch events, which required officers to be posted one officer on one detainee or inmate at all times during the time this watch lasts. Can be hours, can be days. 20 dialysis transfers, and over 12 hospital stays for the population. These events require staff to be repositioned to address the need. At 100% staffing, CoreCivic will still be fined for vacancies or vacating a post for these events. Florida Model J standards account for circumstances like this and allow for the use of technology to monitor posts which are vacated. CoreCivic prioritizes posts that are covered in these events to ensure the safety and security of the facility. Yes, we recognize that posts that are not filled at the start of the shift should be assessed fines, but discretion should be given or taken into consideration when there are significant circumstances like the ones I mentioned before that are not covering our staffing pattern because they are very unpredictable. As of today, we have 2 inmates that have been in the hospital for at least 2 weeks. One of which is a Shannon Hospital in Gainesville. It's a juvenile, and they cannot find the case of his ailment. So that means that the county right now is paying for the medical costs of this juvenile, and it's been paying for that for more than 3 weeks now, because the doctors cannot find what his medical problem is. And in those cases, we have officers arriving every day to this hospital, to put 2 officers with this juvenile, back and forth from here, from the county, all the way to Chance. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Oliver, any comments on any of this?
Yes, the county, as you're well aware, went through an RFP process as it relates to securing this contract. The county hired a jail consultant who has experience in jail staffing and how many people are necessary to keep the facility safe. I think the warden was speaking about their overall staffing. We don't monitor at all how many people are in food services, how many people take care of maintenance or things like that. We only monitor safety-sensitive positions. They're called out in the contract, and even though, for example, he pulls 2 people, and we understand the challenges. He pulls 2 people in his example to go to Gainesville for that particular thing. You can't pull 2 people out of the jail and let the jail, because of the people that are in there, potentially not be a safe atmosphere for the people that are served in that facility. What we have suggested is, if they believe the standards are changing, was to send us a letter and tell us what they were going to recommend changing within the staffing patterns based on new regulations, new information. They sent us a letter. The letter essentially said, trust us, we're an expert in the industry, and we'll staff it, appropriately for that, and we believe they try. Okay, but it does not apply with the contract. We recommend if the board wants to change, potentially change the contract, that CoreCivic should send a letter to the county and say that these safety-sensitive positions that are there, these are the ones that we propose not be staffed in certain events or whatever, and then we send it out to the jail consultant to review and concur or disagree with, because this is not an area of something that we have extensive expertise in it. We think it needs to be reviewed by an outside third party, because with the jail, if things get out of control, it can be really bad.
John Malone with CoreCivic. I would concur that we would agree to meet with any jail consultant to talk about staffing. The last thing we want to do is operate a facility that's not safe. We would definitely entertain staffing pattern should be and how we would recognize situations where staff had to be pulled.
Can you send us a letter to tell us what you're recommending so we can forward that to the consultant?
We can do that, yes.
Okay, because the last one wasn't sufficient.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So you have no problem doing that?
Nope.
I mean, when I read this, here with risk board, it seemed very straightforward. We have a contract, you agreed to it, we agreed to it. Seems like now you're saying the situation has changed, and I guess what's being proposed is let's have the consultant who made the recommendation, and everybody agreed to reevaluate it based on what you're gonna send to us, and then we would go from there. That's what I'm hearing, seems like.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct, yes.
Mr. Oliver, is that the way you understand?
Yes, sir.
Board, anybody have a problem with that?
No.
Good with it.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Sounds like we're all good with that, Mr. Oliver.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Excuse me, just a second.
Who's paying the consultant?
Um,
I'm sorry.
Well, I
Peggy?
think,
Go ahead.
I think we should pay the consultant, to review it because I want the consultant to be neutral.
And you'll come back and let us know what that's gonna be, right? I mean, how long can it take to review, if this is new standards that they're gonna propose? I mean, it seems to me it'd be a pretty easy thing to look at, say, yes, this meets current standards, or no, it does not. Because the consultant's the one, if we go back to the attorney on this, they're the ones that's gonna have to make the, if we staff based on their recommendations, if we cut staff based on their recommendations, it seems to me they would be the ones that provide those, right?
Well, if we go back to how this all started, it was a request, it was a solicitation. So presumably, it went out on the streets, and this vendor responded to the request for proposals with the staffing levels in it that the consultant recommended. So now, we're not only changing potentially this contract, but maybe there were potential other bidders out there who might have been interested in the contract, that now we're changing the terms of the contract that we've all already signed. So it's not consistent with how we usually do things with vendors, but.
I guess their argument would be, is times have changed, right? We've had all these other things that have occurred in the meantime. So we've literally gone back and upped the pay of our sheriff's deputies and everything else due to these changing economic conditions. So I'm not here to advocate on either side. How much do you think this is gonna cost, Mr. Hall?
Not sure, it probably, my guess would be $5,000 or less.
So is everybody good with that? To get this resolved and put behind us?
Yes.
Yep, we're all good with that, Mr. Alderman. Thanks for bringing that up, Madam Attorney. That's why I'm gonna miss you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask this quick, when do you think that letter will be forthcoming?
Mr. Chair, we could have the letter by the end of the week, certainly.
Okay, great. Just so Mr. Alderman knows when to look for it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
I just want to say this. This is not really a change in the contract, even though it may be it, as far as the wording, but the staffing pattern is a staffing pattern. And when we agree to a staffing pattern, that's a staffing pattern that we put together for the facility. We're not saying that staffing pattern is not the right one. But what we're saying is that there are circumstances that take place during the day-to-day operations of the facility in which we have to pull from that, even if the staffing pattern is 100%, which is our goal by probably March of next year. We're gonna have probably at 85–90% certified staff there. But there are circumstances that are unpredictable in day-to-day correctional operations. I don't know whether I'm gonna have one inmate in the hospital or whether I'm gonna have 5 at a particular
Right,
time.
excuse me just a second. But we're not gonna get into all that. I think what we're gonna get into is that you need to explain that to the consultant, and the consultant needs to tell us if he agrees with what you're saying or not. That's what we're here, okay?
We'll be more than glad to do
So
that.
your sale is not to us, it's to the consultant, and then we need to go.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, commissioners, on this? Okay, thank you. We will now move to the 145 H3, dealing with the Barnes Canal boat ramp status and direction.
As the consultants coming forward, when this project started, the cost, was felt could be completed with the budget based on things where it says the entry, conferences. The costs have risen considerably. We're hoping the market's gonna settle down. consultant's gonna provide you three options. Our recommendation is to go with the, what I call the light version to get it started, because it will still facilitate all the infrastructure will be there. Added on in the future, even with the.
That's a different one, okay.
Plumber, so we've done that. We're also disappointed that the Corps of Engineers and the.
Okay, so you do have library
We do,
facility? Would you be interested in having?
Just contact me 100%.
I wanna
You know,
have
silly to say no.
my phone,
Yeah,
my
I know.
email, everything is there.
Okay, I'll give it the proper.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
You mind if I ask you a couple questions? I'm interested in what's going on here. Are the inmates being taken care of?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make certain that the best thing is being done. I'm out of the weeds, out of the woodworks. I just want to make sure certain inmates are being taken care of. I know the county's got certain obligations. Contractors have certain obligations.
He's just walking away from you, minding your hand, and he wasn't. He's the one that beats up the prisoners.
I just want to make sure the inmates are being taken care of.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Yeah, won't you say yes, come back and stop doing your thing then? I swear. Another song. He's a charge in the jail.
Yeah.
He's a charge, and so you know damn well he's beating up people.
Yeah. Well, they're contractors too. I think they're contractors for the jail.
But that's the problem when they get that out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be a dick, but when you're a dick like that, when you're acting like this over the question,
Oh, yeah. I guess they just didn't want to do an interview.
City council, okay?
You gotta kind of quiet and kind of.
I'm not doing that in there.
I'm gonna go back in just for a few minutes here.
Okay, that now there, that we were trying to talk to, I believe, just by his attitude, he's a prison official, and all he cares about is the Benjamin, and how he gets more money for the government, for his little piece of pie, and that's just my opinion.